earlier today I was thinking about how adjusting to college for some people involves an identity crisis of sorts. Where back at home, you're almost like you might be the smartest person in your high school, you might be the most athletic, you might be good looking, you might be the funny person in your friend group.
What were you?
All of the above, obviously. And you get to college and you're no longer the best looking person, right? Like you're no longer the most athletic, you're no longer the smartest person, especially at a place like Harvard. So the question becomes, what does one do when what they stake their identity on is no longer that, is no longer true?
I think like that's kind of the point of college, right? And I think it is definitely tough. There's that whole idea of like imposter syndrome, like especially in a place like Harvard. You don't feel like you belong here. Everyone here is like either more hardworking, smarter, has something going for them that like you probably don't have. And when you compare yourself to others, it can be like really, really tough mentally.
Yeah.
But I think like the whole point of college is like finding who you are outside of just academics, right? Like what activities do you enjoy? Like what type of person are you? Are you the type of person who like wants to like go and enjoy time with friends on the weekends? Do you want to, are you more like a stay in at home, just relax, be content with yourself type of person? You can find these things out in college, right? And I think once you invest time in different like passion projects, hobbies, when you get to college, you kind of realize who you are outside of just like the smartest kid in the grade or like the most attractive or most athletic.
I think in life, oftentimes you become very competitive, not necessarily even in sports, but just generally about like who you are as a person. You want to be quote unquote better than the people around you. And I think what Omar's really hitting at is once you stop comparing yourself to other people, you stop competing, and you do things to just find enjoyment within yourself, is really when you can be happy and find like self-fulfillment in these things and almost battle that identity crisis in a sense.
I very much agree with that sentiment. But one thing that I will say is I realized like, okay, definitely like comparing yourself to others is like a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
But also having this like internal competition with yourself, which is important, can also be daunting in certain ways, right? I don't know about you, but like sometimes during college, I was like, what is my limit, right? Like academically, like how much, like how little did I need to sleep? Like how much could I study? How much work could I put in a week, right? And it was like, I wanted to prove to myself that I could do certain things or that I was capable of matching, like expectations that I had for myself. Yeah. But sometimes you can set unrealistic ideas about like what it is that you are able to achieve in a certain period of time or a certain horizon. And like that is tough as well when you put a lot of challenges on yourself. So it's also important to be mindful of, you want to challenge yourself, but you also don't want to, push yourself to like too far, I guess.
I think I came to that conclusion last year, ironically. And it's sad that I guess it took me so long, but I got to a point where I was like, I can't be the lacrosse player I want to be and be the social person I want to be and get straight A's and go to church all the time and do all these different things that in high school for some reason was like felt so much easier. And so in my own sense, I had to like look inward and say, you're not him. Like I was not him. I was not the guy that I necessarily thought I was. And that's not to say that I really am like worse off for that. But once I came to that realization, I was kind of able to be happier within myself and realize I do have limits. I am not Superman. I'm not this person that can do anything and everything all at the same time and be extremely successful in every single aspect. So find those things that I really, really cared about and almost defining my core values made it a lot more easier to be happy with who I am, where I am, with my performance on all these different metrics. And it's still going well. So
nice. I completely agree. I think one of the hardest parts about college is figuring out what it is that you prioritize, right? Is it, do you want to spend time with your friends, right, at the expense of like not being able to study for an exam? Do you want to like be able to like you said, go to church or like whatever, religious activities you partake in? Do you want to do that versus, going out, like partying and stuff or like, having other things you need to do? So it's really about figuring out like what it is that, makes you content, because you're not going to be happy all the time, right? There's always trials, there's always tribulations, but like what is it that makes you satisfied with your life? Like when you look at like back at the end of the year, like end of the semester, you're like, okay, like A, B, and C were things that actually like made me really happy, and they weren't like draining, they weren't exhausting. I wanted to keep doing them every time I did them, and they made me feel better, right? I think making sure you figure it out as to what it is that's important to you is also extremely important, but also takes a lot of time and a lot of trial and error to be able to come to.
I don't think that I have much to add to that. You wear that really well, so.
Appreciate that.
Perfect. So to kind of conclude, college can be difficult, right? Adjusting to a different environment with different people, not being the person that you necessarily were in high school can be just generally difficult. But what's important is to not be too hard on yourself and find things that you think are core values for yourself.
Yeah, definitely, make sure that you give yourself grace. Definitely try and push yourself. College is a time of exploration. It's a time of, figuring out your limits. But don't go overboard with that. So, take care of yourself, be kind to yourself, and then also spend a lot of time being deliberate and intentional about figuring out what it is that makes you tick, the things that you enjoy, the things that you want to spend more time doing, and the things that ultimately bring you satisfaction.